Hello everybody, General James Game here, and welcome back to another video. Today I bring you a video about what will happen with the future Godzilla series. Now we all know that King of Monsters is out in cinemas right now. And we all know that Godzilla is going to be going up against Kong in a future film. Before we do begin though, I would like to remind you people that if you haven't seen the title, it says that there will be spoilers for Godzilla King of the Monsters. So, if you haven't gone and seen that movie yet, I'd highly recommend you go see it first. Don't worry, I will wait. This is a pausable video after all. Have you seen the film yet? Okay, good. Now let's begin this new video. So like I said in the intro, we all know that Godzilla is going to be fighting Kong in the next 2020 film, which I am really excited for. In a past video, I mentioned who would be the better fighter, who would succeed over the other kaiju. But anyway, to begin off, from Godzilla King of the Monsters, we all know that Godzilla has defeated King Ghidorah, and is finally back to being the apex predator. But according to the post-credits scene, Alan Jonah, or played by Charles Dance, he comes across a King Ghidorah head. So if he's going to try and either extract his DNA to kind of rebuild King Ghidorah as like probably Mecha King Ghidorah, or he's going to just keep it as a prized possession. It's really hard to say whether this post-credit scene was really irrelevant to the whole story. I do guess though it could be fun to see like Godzilla and Kong have to team up against this new rebuilt King Ghidorah, like Charles Dance is trying to kill off both of them. But all we know so far is that it's just Godzilla and Kong showing up in this new film. So, with that out of the way, let's move on to backstory, like what's going to happen before the film, what's going to happen during the film, and what's going to happen potentially after the film. So what we do know from just having a look at the whole title is that it's going to happen relatively soon after Godzilla King of Monsters. The way I'd see Kong leaving Skull Island is not so much because he is actually just going under the orders of the apex predator King Ghidorah. I really doubt Kong would actually follow the orders of King Ghidorah because, well, Kong stands out more as like another sort of apex predator rather than just one of the other monsters that was just a slave to Godzilla. It would also explain why Godzilla and Kong are fighting in the first place. If Godzilla was the alpha and Kong was just following Godzilla's orders, Kong wouldn't necessarily want to fight Godzilla. They do say in King of Monsters that Skull Island, like the monster from there, was actually moving, but I don't think it was necessarily Kong that was the monster they were talking about. Perhaps some of the skull crawlers actually survived, and a new big one actually matured and started creating more of these little skull crawlers. Perhaps rather than Kong actually leaving the island to follow King Ghidorah's commands, it was more like he started getting attacked by all these other skull crawlers due to King Ghidorah's commands. And since Kong was getting damaged by all these skull crawlers, including the big one, he was perhaps banished from Skull Island and forced to retreat to somewhere else. That's how I would imagine the story begins, like how these two meet. I doubt it'd be Godzilla meets Kong on Skull Island, because, well, Godzilla's not really more of that kind of adventurous kaiju. According to the film King of Monsters, Godzilla was basically just chilling in the Bermuda Triangle. That's it. It wasn't until King Ghidorah was awoken that he actually changed his course and headed for Antarctica. Therefore, I see it more clear that Kong would find Godzilla rather than Godzilla finding Kong. Or would it be more Godzilla finds Kong after Kong leaves Skull Island, because Godzilla is the one who technically found King Ghidorah after Yeah, it's a hard question, isn't it? As far as I'm aware, my conclusion is that Godzilla will find Kong after Kong leaves Skull Island, because, well, Godzilla's the alpha predator, and therefore he needs to assert his dominance over Kong. The next theory that we'll go over is like what will happen during the middle, the whole rising tension of the story. It's obvious that Godzilla and Kong will eventually meet up and actually start fighting it out, because, well, it's in the title. But much like what King of Monsters showed, is that you can't just have one major battle go on. You have to have one battle to build up the tension, one extra battle perhaps in the middle to create a dramatic event in the story, and then one final battle to present the victor. So one of the monsters definitely is going to retreat, and then they're going to end up finding each other again, and then they're going to... well, one's going to die, and then the other one's going to remain victorious, either taking or keeping the title, the Apex Predator, and the King of all Monsters. Now, the ending is definitely going to have either a actual scene from the film, or it's just going to be presented in a post-credit scene. They are going to put in a little cliffhanger to get people to want to wait for the next film. Let me use Godzilla as an example for this. When we last saw Godzilla before King of Monsters came out, he was fighting off the Mutos. Now that was about 5 years ago. It's been a while since that happened. But from what we can observe from these three, including Skull Island, they definitely want to try and continue the story of Godzilla. So he might be fighting new monsters, he might be fighting humanity, he might even just be an asset to the film to make up for character creation, or even the main characters actually just growing relationships with other characters. Who knows, perhaps even Kong Skull Island was more just a backstory film. More just something to remember our famous American hero known as King Kong. I'm not saying Kong is going to lose or anything, I'm just saying merely perhaps his film, Kong Skull Island, was merely just a flashback to the past, so that way we could learn a little bit more about the upcoming films. Perhaps even if Kong was to win, it was Godzilla's film was a backstory. With that out of the way, I'd like to move on to another piece of this video. There was always one thing about Kong Skull Island that actually bugged me. According from the director from Kong Skull Island, and also a lot of fans who have gone in and done some research, Kong is actually 100 feet tall in the time setting of Kong Skull Island. Meanwhile, Godzilla from King of Monsters is actually 393 feet tall, or 119.8 meters. So he's actually grown quite a bit since the 2014 Godzilla, heck, even a lot of the other Godzillas. Aside from Godzilla Earth, he is actually the tallest Godzilla we know so far. So there is quite a large gap between Kong and Godzilla in size comparison, with Godzilla 4 times Kong's size. They do say in Kong Skull Island that Kong is still growing, and that there's a huge gap between the year of Godzilla 2014 and Kong Skull Island. But the problem there is with simple maths. Kong is still going to be shorter than Godzilla by 200 feet even. So unless this is an upscaled Kong, like they did with the original Kong versus Godzilla, then this fight is really just more a pity win for Kong. That is, if he wins. There is also another thing about the whole power ratio between each kaiju. From King of Monsters, Godzilla is more powerful than Kong by just even looking at the film. Not only is he significantly larger, he's also gained a new power as well. While Godzilla was in his atomic form, which is what I like to call it, because, well, he may have been on fire in a bit of a way, but it still wasn't technically burning Godzilla, because, well, burning Godzilla was actually Godzilla dying. This Godzilla was merely just more like his power level was just beyond 9,000. But anyway, while he was in this form, he was using the nuclear pulse ability against King Ghidorah. Now, the nuclear pulse, for those of you who don't know what it is or just haven't seen the hazy series of Godzilla, is a spherical blast emitted from his body designed to force back any enemies. This emitted energy is radioactive, hence the word nuclear used in it. And in a sense, it's sort of like looking at a nuclear explosion, if you think about it. Anyway, this ability was used in King of Monsters and was used to actually kill off King Ghidorah. Potentially even more powerful than Godzilla's atomic breath. Whether he kept this ability while in his base form and whether he'll be able to transform into it again in future, that is a different question for today. Although seeing him in his atomic form would actually be quite beneficial against his fight with Kong, because as we know, Kong is susceptible to fire damage. But anyway, regardless, this attack would be most useful for Godzilla to use against King Kong, because Kong would be just zipping around the place, dodging from left and right, and Godzilla could simply just use this and basically vaporize Kong there and then. But like I said, it's not about how he uses it or when he uses it in the fight. It's more about can he use it, because, well, when he was using it, he was in his atomic form. So could he use it in his base form, or does he have to be in his atomic form in order to use it? That's the main question as to if he can use this ability. There is also the thing about Godzilla being able to survive the oxygen destroyer. Kong can't survive that. End of story. Kong was harmed by the propeller blades of a helicopter, and if the explosives were set off, he could have potentially died on Skull Island from Colonel Packett's pyromatic display. Godzilla, on the other hand, he survived the Oxygen Destroyer, the Destroyer of Worlds. The device capable of killing any life form that run on the natural life laws that state all living Earth life require oxygen to not only breathe, but to thrive and live the rest of their lives. Godzilla is that creature, Kong is that creature, humans are those creatures. As far as we're aware, the only creature capable of surviving that blast is Godzilla. Kong, well, he'd probably end up dying from it. Now, the next part of this video, I will be talking about who will come out on top, or who I reckon will come out on top at least. And I want you to remember, audience, that this isn't about me saying that your theories are wrong. It's simply me saying that I believe that this will happen. But when it comes to the fight, I believe Godzilla will reign supreme. Godzilla was the first ever monster that I actually watched and, like, loved. You can tell I'm a big fan from it because some of my previous videos were literally just Godzilla animations with paper cut creatures. But it's not just my love for Godzilla that I hope will make it win. It's also logical thinking. Godzilla's tougher because he survived the Oxygen Destroyer, and several beatings from King Ghidorah. Kong, he nearly died to a pyromatic display. Godzilla is also stronger because he managed to lift and throw his arch-rival King Ghidorah. Kong, he had a lot of trouble holding off the big skull crawler. The fact that humanity was there to help out was the reason why Kong probably won that fight. Godzilla also has the better techniques, the atomic breath, the potential of the nuclear pulse, and also his atomic form. All Kong can do is basically just snap jaws and hope that will win the fight. Those are my beliefs, and that is why I am interested and also excited for this upcoming Godzilla vs. Kong film. Because not only do we get to see these historic icons duke it out to decide which one is supreme, but also because I get to sit here and talk to you all about this. I get to reach out to you other loyal Godzilla fans, Kong fans, and other monster fans as well. I am not only intrigued about the series and the monsters and even the characters, I am intrigued by the fandoms they have created. And I feel the reason why Legendary and Warner Brothers have made this film is not only to entertain the fandom of both Kong and Godzilla, but to also bring them together to actually talk about this. And that's where I believe it's going to get most of its popularity from. And with that being said, this has been General James Game bringing you another video. I hope you liked this, and if you did, make sure to click that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and leave a comment down below as to your reasons as to why either Godzilla or Kong will win the fight. Until the next time we meet again, recruits, you're dismissed. Take care, and have a great day. Thank you.